Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to Daybreak on Trust Television, reaching you from the nation's capital. My name is Ayuba Ilya.
And I am Zainab Bala. Good morning to you out there. Indeed, it's a beautiful Monday morning here in Abuja. Thank you for joining us. If today is your first day on the show, we welcome you specially. The Daybreak Show brings you latest updates every morning on weekdays, and you can surely trust us with the news.
Yeah, it's Monday, and although not many people love Monday mornings like this, it is typically a day that says, look, let's get back to work after a long weekend, presenting you with opportunities to do, the needful, get things done and all of that. And on Daybreak today, of course, we'll be looking at quite a lot. But before we, just outline some of the things that we'll be looking at, Monday mornings, not many people love that. Maybe because of the stress that is attached to that.
I hate Mondays.
You had this long weekend that you've rested, you've been with family, friends, and all of that. And then it's time to go back to the busy you. It's not easy for many people.
I think my weekends, I don't know, well, I didn't enjoy my weekends, and I'm right here back to work, and the show has to go on.
And sometimes you literally have to drag yourself off the bed.
I think that's the explanation.
Yeah, you have to do that. Like I did that this morning, It's not very easy waking up really early. But well, on Daybreak today, we'll be taking a look at the lingering controversy over open grazing and ranching as governments take efforts towards ending farmer-herder conflicts in parts of the country. Executive Director, Pastoral Reserve and Lecturer, Geography Department, Bayero University, Kano, Saleh Momale joins us to discuss this later on the show.
We will also be interrogating proliferation and sources of arms for bandits in the country. To discuss this, we have Dr. Murtala Ahmed Rufai, Senior Lecturer, Department of History, Usman Danfodiyo University, and he's also a lead researcher in activities of bandits.
Still on Daybreak today, NDLEA seizes 3,300 kgs of drugs in Abuja, Lagos, Edo, Kaduna. Spokesman of the NDLEA, Femi Babafemi, will also be joining us to discuss this on the show today.
For now, let's take a look at the events of 27th of September in world history. Take a look.
All right, thank you for staying with us. It's Daybreak on Trust Television. Today is celebrated as World Tourism Day. There's literally nothing that doesn't have a day. The other day we were talking about Coffee Day.
Everything has a day, even the weird things have days.
And all of that. Well, it's quite interesting. Now, the World Tourism Day is celebrated each year on 27th of September and is the global observance day fostering awareness of tourism's social, cultural, political, and economic value and the contribution that the sector can make towards reaching the sustainable development goals. The theme for the year 2021 is Tourism for Inclusive Growth.
Now, Nigeria is blessed with rich and unique array of ecosystems and a great variety of wild fauna and flora. This rich natural endowment is a product of the climatic variation resulting into various north-south gradations of habitats and ecosystems. Now, the habitats support more than 1,340 species of animals, among which is 274 mammalian species, making it the 8th highest in Africa. From biological inventories, about 885 species of birds, over 109 species of amphibians, and 135 species of reptiles have so far been identified. There are about 900 species, of which 60 species are within the wetlands and freshwater ecosystems in Nigeria. That's quite a number, isn't it?
That's quite an endowment, in Nigeria. But, I ask, how much do we actually generate from our ecotourism sector? in Nigeria. We have about how many parks in Nigeria? 7 or so. And well, how much have we seen? You know, with this issue of insecurity and all of that. In the northeast, for instance, we have the Chad Basin. In the northwest, you know, we have, you know, some kind of tourist attraction. You know, quite a lot of the, all over the country we have different, you know, tourist attraction. The Kashaka Gumti along
yes,
the
I actually
Adama,
get
Taraba
Gumti
axis.
National Park.
Yeah,
I
in
think
Bauchi you talk about the Yankari Game Reserve and all of that, but
right.
I'm not sure how much we are, you know, generating from that as a result of the insecurity. In fact, before even the insecurity situation, you know, came in,
problems.
yeah,
Yes.
you talk about management issues and all of that. Hopefully, we would see more that that the governments will do in order to ensure that that sector is working really well. That's that for today in history. We'll take a look at the dailies on Daybreak this morning, and we will be taking a look at quite a number of papers. But before we do that, let's go on this quick break, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at the story that made the headlines. Join us again.
But in a situation where you find that
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying with us. Is Daybreak on Trust Television. Now going into the dailies on Daybreak, we are joined by Stella Iyaji, Managing Editor, Daily Trust newspaper, to review some of the headlines. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
At
Good to
least we
have
have a female now, so.
What do you mean? I would take that as a sexist comment.
No, it's not a sexist. You know, we're having males all through, so it's
Okay, so
nice
you're
to
talking
have a
about
lady
balance,
here.
isn't it?
Yes.
Gender balance. Well, that's fine. All right, so we'll be taking a look at some of the papers, and we will begin with the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And here we have some of the stories. The first one there, Khan honors Imam who saved Christians from attacks. Yeah, those are the kind of stories we should be getting. We should be seeing, you know, on our pages, on the pages of our newspapers. The next one, flight delays worsen as passengers lament. You will also find infrastructure must grow by 5% annually to boost productivity. That's according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. The lead story on Daily Trust newspaper, terrorists attack military base in Sokoto, kill 15 personnel. And the writers there says 9 fleeing soldiers found in Nigerian village. District head swears with Quran over alleged involvement in banditry. And then you also have bandits regrouping in Issa forest, use camels to attack communities, locals. Below the pictorial there, you see the big picture there actually shows you Haitian migrants crossing the Rio Grande River at the Mexico-US border. Quite a pathetic scene there, the desperation there that you can see, people trying to flee their countries of origin into other countries. Below that, you would find insecurity, 330,000 Nigerians seeking refuge in Chad, Niger, Cameroon. That's according to the federal government. Troops for Boko Haram attack on Yobe town. The Tigers beat Mali 70-59 for third straight AfroBasket title. And you also have media should run as business to serve its purpose. That's according to NPAN chairman. These are some of the major stories on the Daily Trust. Let's take a look at the other papers before we come to our reviewer.
Okay, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. Right at the top, we have federal government plans 3,964 Nigerians on watch list, suspends passports. We also have 330,000 Nigerian refugees in Chad, Niger, other countries. We also saw that on the Daily Trust newspaper. And we also have ASU meets next week over planned strike, laments government's inaction. And the big headline there says COVID-19 business looms. Inbound travelers bribe officials to evade tests. Experts warn of spike. And the rider says flight passengers bribe officials with 10,000, 15,000 to underpay, evade tests. We also have virologists knock officials, allege invaders responsible for high community transmission. We also have a Kwara man who allegedly buries 9-year-old with 1,000 note arrested. Interesting. ICPC arraigned 2 suspects for defrauding RCCG of 10 million over land. And beneath that, we have abductors free 10 more Baptist students, keep 11 victims alive. And below that, we have Nigeria will surmount current travails, emerge in victory, Adiboye. And right below that, Fashola, Akpabio disown groups promoting ministers' 2023 campaigns. Lagos clubhouse kick as 100 policemen, thugs demolish buildings, arrest workers. And in business, we have forex crisis, massive job losses looms, profits shrink, say man, others. That's all we have on the point.
All right. We'll take a look at the Guardian newspaper this morning. The lead story says oil nears $80 with slim chances for more revenue due to theft. And you also find the riders there. Nigeria partly responsible for higher oil prices, yet can't break even. Sad and ironical, isn't it? Despite amnesty, 32 billion naira security costs, average loss to crew theft, vandalism surpasses 200,000 barrels per day. Operators can't make money, need newer security models. You also find below that the I don't see problem with implementing anti-grazing law, says Fayemi. You see the rider there. Nigeria's tax system problematic. Supreme Court to expedite action on the VAT. You'd see also country lacks fund to build economy, borrowing a necessity. Government need to manage finance responsibly. Rufai Akeredolu, altercations on open grazing needless. These are some of the stories you would find on The Guardian this morning. You can pick a copy. All right. Next paper.
Okay, let's take a look at the Daily Sun. Right at the top, we have why I shunned APGA campaign flag off, Bianca Ojukwu. The big headline there says PDP leaders in dilemma over choice of chairman. And the writer says Sikh party elders intervention meeting ended in deadlock. Why zoning committees meeting ended in deadlock. And we also have PIA, Nigeria introduces 2% yearly increase on royalty. Inflation, FX scarcity trigger 140 billion outflow from Nigeria in 8 months. We have Nigeria suffering from leadership failure, says Wike. Expectations fears as CBN rolls out e-Naira October 1st. And we also have published names of suspected looters of 6 trillion naira NDDC funds, Serap tells Buhari. And we also have below that, experts fault federal government's 12 trillion oil subsidy claim. And the rider says, cite inefficiency in downstream power sections. And below that, APC mulls December for National Convention.
All right, finally, we'll take a look at The Nation newspaper. And the first story there, 60 held over mob, lynching of policeman in Lagos. You'd see also street begging, Al-Majri not Islamic, says Sultan. You'd find also below the nameplate, zoning tears PDP apart, Makinde, Anyimi lead opposing groups, stormy days ahead. VAT row, firms remit August returns to FIRS. And then you see also the pictorial showing you ahead of the 61st anniversary of Nigeria, the meeting of Khan and other Christian stakeholders there. You'll see Nigeria at 61 remains Africa's shining star. That's according to the Vice President Osibanjo. Well then, let's take a look. Let's go back to our daily trust. We have Stella Iyaji, like we told you, the managing editor, Daily Trust newspaper. Good morning again.
Good morning to you.
Now, quite interesting stories this morning that we are seeing. The lead story on the Daily Trust newspaper talks about terrorist attack military base in Sokoto, killing 15 persons. But the one that got my attention most is that these terrorists are now regrouping in Issa local government, and they now use camels to attack people in their communities. Isn't that pathetic? It's funny, but pathetic at the same time.
And scary. It's scary because, no, the part that got me is the fact that the terrorist groups, you know, terrorists belonging to a particular leader and terrorists under another leader are now coming together. So that in itself is scary, because you're now wondering, if all the terrorists under several leaders come together, that's going to be a formidable force. I mean, that's not to scare Nigerians or anything, but it just tells you that we have a lot of work to do. It just tells you that maybe it's time we need to review the strategies that are on ground already. Now you say terrorists are now moving on camels. How is that even possible? How are they able to move from one place to the other without the security agencies seeing them or apprehending them? You know, because they don't move, they move in groups. So of course, when you see a group of people on camera moving at the same time, naturally you'll be like, okay, where are they going to and who are these people? It's surprising.
And this, you know, this coming together of a thing, is this coming as a surprise to anybody? Because I mean, a lot of experts have said, look, these bandits operating in the northwest are not any different from the terrorists in the, you know, northeast and all of that. So does this validate all of that points?
Yes, but the thing is, it just tells you that what experts have been talking about, what they've been envisaging, is now here with us, that they have actually come together. Because yes, it is true that they have said the terrorists are the same ones acting as bandits. You know, they have said that several times. But even as terrorists, there were people under different leaders, you understand? Like this person has his own group, the other person has his own group, and sometimes they even fight each other. And when they fight each other, it's an opportunity for Nigerian security to, you know, decimate them. But a situation where the bandits are now coming together, I read that the bandits under two particular leaders came together to carry out this attack.
So are you saying Nigeria's security architecture is not doing what it's supposed to do?
I'm saying that a lot needs to be done. I'm saying that more needs to be done. For instance, this particular attack happened on Friday. Yes, they have shut down telecommunication service in that area. Maybe it's time to review it, because it happened on Friday. Nobody got to hear about it until yesterday. Do you understand? Now, I also read in that same story that the bandits are using telecom service from Niger Republic. Do you understand? So they are beating us at our game. I mean, we are saying no telecommunication service in this particular area, but these people have been able to find their way around it, and they're now communicating. That the story said that they used the telecommunication service from Niger Republic to talk to each other and come together to carry out this attack. You know, so maybe it's time.
But it seems like some of the policies introduced are yielding results, which is why we're seeing them resorting to the use of camels. For instance, this policy about, you know, you cannot buy fuel for up to 10,000 naira in some parts of the
jerrycans. You can no longer buy in jerrycans.
And jerrycans as well. And so they don't have fuel to be able to use vehicles and all of that. So using camels, I think, exposes them more, and, you know, perhaps makes it much easier for
they were able to
the
move.
security forces.
But they were able to move. It makes it easier. But how were they able to move? Do you understand? What I'm saying is that it's true that so far we've recorded some success in that area following the recent shutdown and all of that. But I'm saying that they need to do more. For instance, somebody in that same story said that they need to provide means of communication among the security forces. They have, but it's not enough. They need to have more telephones, more Turaya, more access to communicate, because they are the ones that will be able to say, look, this is happening at this time, and then we need help, or we need to, or to even call for help if the need arises. So I think that it's the current strategy is a step in the right direction, but I think more needs to be done. And in any case, any strategy you have, as you go into it, there's always a need to review and then find out, okay, which areas need to be amended, which areas need to be upped a bit, so that you'll be able to get maximum results.
So from what we are seeing, Nigeria's military is already overstretched. How do we deal with this?
At the moment, they can only manage maybe further recruitment. Maybe they need to recruit more, you understand? Because the truth of the matter is that what the Nigerian military is doing now is not really their duty. They're just forced to do it because the country is where it is at the moment. Only the police cannot handle it, so they have had to step in and carry out all this internal security and all of that. Ordinarily, it shouldn't be their function, you know. So maybe the only thing they will need to do is additional personnel, but most importantly, equipment, technology. Because when you have adequate technology and you make best use of it, you may not need so much personnel anyway, because what 10 people will do, technology will provide it, and you'll be able to achieve better results.
All right, another story of interest that we saw on the Guardian, newspaper this morning is the lead story saying oil nears $80 with slim chances for more revenue due to theft. I mean, just when we have concluded on our budgeting for the year 2021, and we've made all the projections, the oil benchmarks, and then we are saying that, look, there could be a problem, with the oil revenue itself. How far are we with this conversation about diversification of the economy? It's almost becoming like a cliche now, but it seems like not much have been achieved.
The truth of the matter is that anytime I hear that price of crude is going up, I panic, because it means that our revenue will drop, because we don't refine the product here. It therefore means that we're going to start bringing in this products. You understand? We bring them in, and the more I found that the more the price of crude goes up in the international market, the more our revenue drops, because our refineries are not still working after how many years. And apart from the fact that our refineries are not working, the idea about diversification of the economy has become, like you said, a cliche. Every government comes in and says, we need to diversify the economy and all of that. And then you see this initial push. Like when this present administration came in, there was efforts to, diversify the economy. You saw them moving towards agri, especially the area of rice production. But what came of that? After some time, everybody relaxed again, and then we're back to where we are. So I would not say that we've done so much in the area of diversification at all. In any case, Nigeria, the fastest way, or the other best alternative for us in the area of diversification is agriculture. Now, how many people can really go to their farms? There's insecurity. People are actually running away from those farms because of insecurity. So that also puts a problem before us when we want to diversify the economy in that regard.
Now, Nigeria is doing so much, in spending a fortune on securing and maintaining its pipeline infrastructure in the country. How far are we with that?
That's because, Nigerians also, we are our own problems, because people still go to vandalize those things, you understand? And it is true. They spend a lot of money securing the pipelines because people will actually go and vandalize them. And civil defense, they actually, one of the roles I know they play is securing these pipelines and all of that. But I do not think that they've been able to achieve maximum results, you understand? So you still find out that the vandalization continues, and of course we have to secure them, because that's the only way through which we get money in Nigeria, as it were. The pipelines, they have to be okay, because it is through oil that will get money in Nigeria, you know. And that also brings you back to why we need to diversify the economy. Because if we had other ways of making money as a country, maybe people will not be holding us to ransom by saying, okay, fine, we're going to destroy the pipelines, and then when we destroy the because of that, you have to beg us, you have to pay for extra security for these pipelines. Because if attention is moved away a bit from oil and then to other sectors, you know, we won't be held to ransom each time people decide to do stuff like that.
Well, we'll be going on a quick break now, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at some more on our newspapers today. Please stay with us.
This is the spot, a marking signifying the starting point of the dam.
40. No compensation has been given to any community member, and no place has been earmarked for their relocation.
Since why they go, they never come back.
And this is where the hydroelectric power dam is supposed to be constructed. But for many years, the story has remained the same. This is the site of the proposed hydroelectric power station in Mambila. But the irony is, no construction has even commenced yet.
Get latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the Trust TV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search Trust TV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
African fabric is finding its way to the global stage. But Nigeria is losing out on big textile spenders as the local industry faces imminent extinction.
Behind me is the Arewa Textile Mill, established in 1963 and eventually closed down in 2004.
From over 180 textile mills in the 70s, only about 25 mills now operate at less than 40% capacity.
I'm an employee of Arewa Textile PLC before it closed. After a month, I was just like a madman.
In a day, they laid off 4,500.
The once thriving sector struggles to compete with an annual import of $4 billion.
Smuggling is the order of the day.
For manufacturers, we cannot compete.
We visit the nation's textile hubs to seek answers to why the sector has failed to return to its glory days despite government's intervention.
All right, thank you for staying with us. It's Daybreak reaching you from Trust Television. And now we'll be looking at some other stories on the Punch newspaper. There's a story there that got my attention while we're going through that paper. It's about ASU strike. ASU meets next week over planned strike, laments government's inaction. I mean, here we are again after all the, I'll say, hula baloo about, ASU strike, and it doesn't appear that the problem has been solved yet.
You see, the truth of the matter is that you may look at ASU. Now, I'm not an ASU apologist, but you may look at ASU and say they like going on strike. But then what is the underlying problem? You see, ASU, the association is made up of academics. So they know exactly what they want and they know how to go about it. Now, they're not people that you don't tackle their problem using you can't apply a political solution to their problem. They are not people that a politician will come and say, look, I'm going to give you this, and then when you win the election, you don't give them and go away. No, when you're having a meeting with ASU, these are very intelligent people, serious people, they take notes. They know what you have promised to give them, and they're going to come for that thing. So it's either you don't want to give them, and then you tell them, look, what you're asking for is not possible. On that table where you're having that meeting, that's when you should tell them. Don't say, another thing the government does is that when a strike is lingering, students have been at home for a while, then I'll say, okay, let's just call them. Let's agree to whatever it is that they want, and then let them call off the strike, and then we'll deal with it later. That is why we keep having this thing. No, government should not do that. You sit down with them and promise what you can pay. That's what you should do. I know that it's possible that when you reach the initial agreement, between that time and now, the economy has nosedived, so much has gone wrong and everything. Maybe what you should do is sit with ASU, reach an agreement that is possible. Do not just say, okay, what government always does is, they think that payment day will not come. They just say, okay, let's agree, let's sign. And then let's disperse. Then ASU comes out tomorrow and say we've called off the strike. Government at that point does not have any intention of fulfilling its part of the bargain. And then ASU will wait 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and is not saying anything, and then they go back. Do you understand? So what I'm saying is that I'm saying that ASU should. There should be a compromise. ASU should move from where they are. Government should move, but they should come to an agreement that is possible. If the initial agreement is no longer possible, maybe because of lack of funds, I mean the COVID hit us bad and all of that, that is possible. Sit with these people, but don't make an agreement. They're not children. They're not people that you promise something and you not give them. Sit with them and tell them, okay, this is what we can pay. And as you're saying it, you have it in your mind that we have the money to pay. We intend to pay. Well, from everything that has happened with ASU, government reaches an agreement that is not ready to implement.
So we have ASU, we have the Association of Resident Doctors, now coming up. Why is this now a norm in Nigeria?
It's all from, okay, people are dissatisfied. I know that. But then again, a lot of other people are dissatisfied. But they are not holding you to an agreement that you didn't reach with them. They are holding you to an agreement that you reached with them. So the issue is, what was government thinking when it reached that agreement? Don't reach an agreement you don't want to implement or fulfill. You understand? Now, resident doctors are saying, give us this, give us that, and all of that. Government may think, okay, this strike has taken too long. Let's quickly reach. No, don't quickly reach an implementable agreement so that the strike will go and go. But you see what happens? They reach an agreement that is not possible, that even them, they know at that point that they cannot implement. But they use political solution. Just what they do to the electorate, I'll give you this, and then after they win the election, they disappear. No! That is what, like resident doctors, you know how many times they've gone on strike in the past how many years?
Okay.
So,
now, following that, the resident doctor strike, the industrial court ordered them to resume, work. Is that a right approach?
No, I do not think so. People know their right as well. So you rushing to the court to get one judgment is not the solution, Meet with them and reach an agreement that is possible. Because, and as you're aware, in Nigeria today, you get this judgment from this court. People go to another court and get another judgment and all of that. You understand? On the same issue anyway. So I do not think that is the solution.
Let me just take you back to the issue of ASU. A lot of people say that, look, this request or demand by ASU is not feasible. So you talk about sitting down, reaching an agreement. We've seen these meetings happen severally, and most times we'll say it ends in a deadlock because there was no agreement, reached and all of that. is the request by ASU too much? There are some experts who have said, look, tertiary institutions are not run the way we run them in Nigeria. It's not 100% government funding kind of an arrangement. So where are we not getting it right as far as funding for our tertiary institutions are concerned?
Yeah, because for a long time, government was funding tertiary institutions, basically, or majorly, you understand? And I think we've not got to that place where we can, yes, they can get funding from other sources, but government is still the major funder of tertiary institutions. So, so that is why they run into problems when they are not able to meet certain obligations, you understand? And you said that, some people have said that ASU's demands are not realistic. Okay, let's imagine they are not realistic. Have they come to, what is government offering? You know, government can also look at what ASU is asking, tell them that, okay, what you are asking for is not realistic. This is what we can do. I know that, yes, they may get to a deadlock, the meeting may end in a deadlock, but if they continue, if they persist that, okay, this is what we can give, I'm sure at some point, ASU will shift. But what government does at times is, government will now bow to pressure and say, okay, fine, what you're asking for, I'm going to give you. And government will not give. ASU most times holds government to its agreements. It's not... most times, ASU comes to the table with, okay, this is what you agreed to give us. You know, there was a time ASU was having a meeting, and they were talking about an agreement that was reached like 6 years earlier. And I was thinking, why would you reach an agreement with someone 6 years earlier? You didn't even bother to implement till now. Which therefore means that at that time when you were reaching that agreement, you had no intention of fulfilling that, your part of the bargain.
So isn't it time, you know, for Nigerian tertiary institutions to find other means, you know, of funding, for instance, through research?
Yeah, they can do that. And I think some institutions have started doing that already, finding other means of funding and all of that. But it's a work in progress. It's going to take some time before they get to that point, you know, where they can actually... where the money they will need from government will not be so much. It's going to take a while.
Okay.
Well then, I think we've come to the end of our newspaper review for today. Thank you so much. We have been speaking with Stella Iyaji, Managing Editor, Daily Trust newspaper. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.
We hope to have you next time.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we'll go on a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at other discussions on the program. Please stay with us.
The killing of Mohammed Yusuf was deliberate. To me, it was deliberate to ignite a war.
Bring back our army. Let's travel down to Shekau, a community in Yobe State, to talk to Shekau's mother on what she thinks about this development.
I think there is an element of truth that Abubakar Shekau is indeed dead this time around.
You have Boko Haram, your children are Boko Haram, every household has Boko Haram.
This was the place where Muhammad Yusuf was established.
Suleiman, Aya, and Tari, all from the Sulubawa clan, with a unique wealth of culture and deep love for cattle, which truly reflects their sense of family. But over time, everything changes with no lands for grazing. Experience the incredible story of the Fulani people, loved ones they must protect, the journey they must take.
The use of herbs and plants as medicine, popularly known as agbo, is a tradition that has always been a part of the Nigerian people.
Agbo cures different types of diseases.
For some traditional medicine practitioners and consumers, traditional medicine, or agbo as they are popularly called, still remain a trusted and preferable alternative.
I inherited this from my late grandmother.
More people need to believe in the potential of the phytomedicinal sector.
From the onset, our origination is from the herbal medicine.
There are other ailments that does not need surgery. I believe natural herbs can do the job very well.
My grandfather stayed 135 years before he died. So we are a family of roots.
We're sitting on a multi-billion-dollar gold mine here in Nigeria when we talk about herbal medicines.
However, this does not eradicate the importance and usefulness of modern medicine in the world today.
Before staying with us is Daybreak, reaching you from Trust Television, and now we will be going into our next discussion, talking about the fight against drug in Nigeria. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) said it has uncovered a hotel in Abuja where drugs are sold and young ladies camped for commercial sex. The agency also said at least 4 persons, including 3 ladies and a man, were arrested when the drug joint Jat suit located at 30 Lobito Crescent, Wuse 2, was raided, and some quality of Rohypnol and paraphernalia for smoking crack cocaine were recovered on Wednesday, 22nd of September 2021. The Director, Media and Advocacy for NDLEA, Femi Babafemi, joins us in the studio, and he takes us through some of the recent feats of the NDLEA as far as the fight against drug abuse is concerned. Good morning. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Ayuba. Thank you for having me.
Interestingly, drug peddlers, I would say merchants, are now evolving in some ways, coming up with new strategies, new ways, of pushing their drugs and all of that. What are the recent discoveries?
Yeah,
maybe beginning with the last story we saw.
Yeah, absolutely. You have this. I mean, people who are so disingenuous, so desperate, and so in their desperation, they are not ready to quit so easily. So they will still want to try some other means to see how they can ply their trade. But it's very unfortunate for them that anywhere they turn, they have NDLEA to contend with, and that's the result of what we are seeing. Whether they go online, they have our agents there monitoring them, following them up. Whether they go inside in the forest, that's even the one of the most recent things happening. You know, huge recoveries from the forest, deep inside forest. I'm talking of forest that you have to trek on foot for 3, 4, 5 hours to get in there. So we have this to do in some very difficult terrain. I can remember the last 2 weeks I may have to go on a tractor to be able, because the forest was so muddy and marshy, so they couldn't even go on foot, so they had to go on a tractor. You know, it's a very difficult one. But then we have officers and men that are very determined, that believe very strongly and very well in the leadership of the agency, and that's why you're having quite a lot of results. Honestly, we're mopping up every bit of gram we find in any part of the country. And the one you refer to, the jet suits in Lobito, that's one of the latest discoveries, where you have a bag created within a residential area. You know, Lobito is a highbrow residential area where you even have foreign embassies and missions. They are neighbors to foreign embassies and missions in that place. And unfortunately, you have some elements who converted the premises to some other things where they sell drugs, and you have girls camped in rooms in their, in 2, in 3, in 4, in 5 for some elements, usually maybe the big in the society, come and have sex with them there. That is, and you see, these things are not done with clear minds, and that's why they have to create a drug joint there for them, for both the young girls and their customers. So they have to first of all get high on drugs, crack cocaine, that is the peak of it, and Rofinol. These are very strong opioids that alter the mind of the individuals, gives you energy that you can never imagine, make you want to do the impossible. And so you see, when you see people dying during sex romp and what have you, these are all the things that lead to that. And but then the good thing is, wherever they turn, they are always having us to contend with, and that's exactly why we're taking that matter very seriously. That's why we had to take the media on a tour of that facility, so that we can let the public know again what these people are up to, and also send a very strong signal, warning to others who, especially landlords and landladies, who may want to yield their premises for such things. Sometimes they may not be the actual perpetrators, but they let out their premises. So if you are a landlord or a landlady, you should also be interested in what your property is being used to do, so that when it gets to the point of prosecuting the culprits, your property would not be you will not be at the risk of losing your property, because one of the things we are doing at the moment is to ensure that the vessels, that is the premises or the vehicles or whatever means are used for this illicit trade, we attach them to the case for forfeiture to the federal government, and that's what we are pursuing, and that's why we're also pursuing the assets of the individuals, the culprits in this case. We go after their assets, we go after their bank accounts to make sure that the incentives, because the whole essence of this illicit criminal trade is the money they are getting from it. So we make sure that we deny them the benefits of enjoying the wealth made from that illicit trade.
Okay, now of interest was a seizure the NDLEA made earlier this month of amphetamine worth 6 billion, where we saw that concealed in rotoreels. Now, how did that whole raid come about?
Yeah, that's also one of the things we discovered recently. You can just imagine that somebody will go as far as the Middle East to build machines. You call them, I think, sanders. They are used for tiling or something like that in building construction. And what they did, it's unimaginable. Those machines were deliberately built for the purpose of hiding drugs inside the rotors, because and these things were not just they were well built and inside steel, iron. And unfortunately for them, our operation is intelligence based. We work across with other partners all over the world. So as at March this year, as early as March this year, we got intelligence about that particular consignment. Even it had to pass through about 3-4 countries. Even when it was transloaded to another ship, we had intelligence that has been, just to hide the source where it was coming from, so that it will not raise an alert. But then, unfortunately, we kept track, and it's a very diligent process. You have to be patient and very diligent, and that was exactly what we did in that case. And when the consignment actually came, it became controversial because there were arguments that, oh no, these are just equipment, machines, there can never be drugs there, blah 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 blah, all those things. But we're very 100% sure that there were drugs in there, and ultimately the whole thing was resolved when we had to bring in our own professional expertise into the scene, because we work with other stakeholders at the port, and that was the dogs, the sniffer dogs. Okay. The sniffer dogs resolved the whole thing. So we have to offload the machines, put them on the ground, get them, and we brought in about 8 sniffer dogs to investigate the machines, and at the end of the day, they were able to pinpoint the rotors as the parts of the equipment, the machines harboring or housing these drugs, and that was how. You see, the curious thing there is that particular drug, Captagon, is what they call is a drug controlled by ISIS. ISIS, this jihadis fighting in Afghanistan and in parts of the Middle East, and so coming from that, it was a deliberate supply. Basically, what they do with it is either they supply their fighters, insurgents, to go on for days, not sleeping, fight on, not getting tired, not sleeping. They can get awake and be strong for days. One, it's probably either to fuel the insurgency in the country, or two, the other thing they use it for is because it's very expensive. It's very expensive. A pill costs as much as $25 a pill of that thing. And so another thing is for them to sell this and have a way of channeling it to the insurgents to fund their purchase of arms and ammunition. But then we thank God that that did not, we did not allow that to come into the Nigerian soil.
So what are some of the arrests that have been made in regards to this discovery, aside seizing these drugs? Are there certain persons that have been arrested?
Definitely, for any seizure, there must be at least 1 or 2 arrests connected. But most times, you see, even when we make some seizures, we don't come out immediately to talk about them because at that point we're still building a case, trying to, if we, for instance, we arrest somebody who probably we caught with the drug. For instance, in the case of the seizure in Apapa, the Captagon, the first arrest was the agent, the person that came, because at the point there were negotiations on how to bribe our officials, but because we already knew, I mean, something we've been working on since March, so we had to play along to see how we can use that. Don't forget that was how we were able to get one of the barons that came all the way from Brazil, the man that sent heavy cocaine from Brazil, you know. Our men, that's at the Lagos airport recently, some weeks ago. So in the case of this one, we had to first of all get the point man, the person that came forward. You know, these people are not, they don't come out easily. They push quite a number of agents into the scene.
So chain.
I'm telling you, it's a chain. Even as many as 4, 5, 6 members of that chain may not even know who the real kingpin is. You see, because A is working with B, B is working with C. Along that chain, they don't even know who the real person pulling the strings is. So it's that complex, but then that's why we try to build up to arrest everybody in that chain until we're able to build a case to the big kingpin, to the baron. So that's how it works, and we're still on that case, definitely.
All right, so we should expect maybe some kind of naming of the suspects when eventually arrested?
Definitely. It's not, they are not things that can be hidden, because when we arrest, immediately we take them to court, we charge them to court, and when they get to the court, then becomes public, even before it gets to the point, if we sure, because we like to let the public know, so that the public can be educated, we can create the awareness the more, and then we can also send the signal, the warning to those behind these things that it can no longer be business as usual.
So take us through, what are some of the new developments in terms of equipment and all of that, you know, to enable you contend with some of these recent moves by drug merchants and all of that?
Yeah, unfortunately, some of these people believe they probably have some fake assurances from some quarters that one, they rely on what they call local immunity, juju, that they can never, these things can never be found on them, blah blah blah. They have that fake belief. Maybe somebody somewhere it's giving them that assurance. Some also give them the assurance that, okay, don't worry, we'll bribe the officials, you know. So they have that fake confidence, and unfortunately, the man at the helm of affairs in NDLA is on top of the job 24/7. He's somebody that leads operations, he controls all the buttons, presses all the buttons, and keeps a tap on everybody. So you cannot afford to fail on a particular assignment. The moment an intelligence comes, he knows who he assigns it to, and he follows up until there is a result. Quite fantastic officers and men of the agency, I can tell you. Then in addition, you also have, like I told you, we work on intelligence, I mean, whether within or from outside the country. We're working with quite a lot of partners from outside the country, and so we give them intelligence, they share intelligence with us. So, and together, that is why these things appear to be working well.
All right, we will take a quick break now, and then when we come back, the show will continue. Please stay with us.
This is the spot.
Yes, sir.
Mark and find the starting point of the dam. No chobri, no sare, 40.
No compensation has been given to any community member, and no place has been earmarked for their relocation.
Since why they go, they never come back.
And this is where the hydroelectric power dam is supposed to be constructed. But for many years, the story has remained the same. This is the site of the proposed hydroelectric power station in Mambila. But the irony is, no construction has even commenced yet.
Thank you for staying with us. It's Daybreak reaching you from Trust Television. We are in the studio with the spokesperson of the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, talking about Femi Babafemi, and he's giving us an update on recent happenings as far as the fight against drug abuse is concerned in Nigeria. Now, quite a lot of discoveries were made, in the recent past. Can you give us, in terms of the value of the seizures that have been made, maybe a kind of a brief of...
Yeah, let me quickly run through that. Between January and August, let me just put out August because we have not compiled September, and there are quite a lot of arrests and seizures in September. But between January and August, we've made over 8,634 arrests, and out of that, about more than 5,000 were charged to court, out of which over 1,630 convicted and serving jail terms at the moment, while over 3,000 others are still currently facing charges in the courts. Then drugs seized so far, over 2.7 million kilograms. That is huge. And then I wish you saw what was recovered from a forest in Edo State yesterday. That was huge. That's almost what we recovered in the forest in Edo yesterday, Sunday, right? Yeah, 2,937 kilograms of cannabis ready to be transported to other parts of the country. These things are things we use like 5-6 trucks to carry, loaded to the brim.
How is the NDLEA able to navigate some of this forest? And, do you think that there is need, looking at the whole issue that we're grappling with insecurity and all of that, banditry and kidnapping and the likes, and many experts have said these forests are now becoming like a safe haven for these criminals.
Yeah.
Should we be paying more attention to the forest now?
Yeah. Let me quickly land on the statistics. I've spoken up to the people facing charges at the moment. Now we have drugs and cash, because like I told you, we don't just go after the suspects, the drugs, we also go after their assets. So drugs and cash seized so far within that 8 months, it's over 100 billion naira. And again, those we have rehabilitated, because our job is not just all about punitive measures. We also do counseling, rehabilitation, and those that have been counseled, rehabilitated, and reintegrated back to the society within this period, there are over 4,000, which gives a fair balance between our drug demand reduction efforts and drug supply reduction activities. Now coming to the issue of the forest, honestly, because when the drug we produce more here, that is cannabis sativa, they are usually produced in the forest. They are usually planted, cultivated and packaged. These people build heavy warehouses deep in the forest where when they harvest these things, they store them there, then looking for how to distribute them across the country. And so we also had to, don't forget that on June 26th this year, that is during the launch of War Against Drug Abuse, WADA, by President Buhari at the Villa, he did mandate the agency to go into all the forests and make sure that every bit of drugs gotten there, we seize them and destroy them. And that's exactly the mandate, the order that the agency is going after, even though before then we have been doing this, but I can tell you that the tempo had really gotten up, and we're going far into the forest, and we're acting on intelligence. We're using technology. So they are combined in this in this particular case, because we need intelligence. We also need to deploy technology to get quite a number of geographical equations, figures settled before we move in, so that we're sure of the accurate location of where we are going to, and that had never failed us. And that's why we're making huge recoveries, because the whole essence, even sometimes, let me also tell you some of the things we do. Sometimes even when we discover a cannabis farm early enough, we pretend we don't know they are there. Do you know why? Because we know they invest heavily in those things, so we allow them to pour in their investment till they are harvesting. That's when it hurts much. Do you understand? Well, that's the point. We now move and make sure we destroy, because you see, that way we're weakening their financial strength, their financial muscle. We're cutting it down, because they would have invested over the months nurturing the plantation, and at the point they think they now want to reap from the criminal trade, then we strike.
Okay, now let me take you back to the issue of the recent Captagon seizure the NDLEA made. Now, according to reports, it is the first of its kind in Africa.
In Africa.
Doesn't this send a kind of red, signal for the country?
Yeah, that's exactly what, and that was exactly why the chairman had to go to Lagos to address the country through the media, showing these things and warning on the implications of this thing. But I mean, our joy is we were able to intercept that. So what it shows is the desperation of the people behind some of these security challenges we're having across the country, to go through all means to fund and to make sure that this thing does not come to an end so easily, because drug is the propeller, is what propels these young men fighting in the forest. I mean, because an ordinary mind, a sane person will not just go and live. I'm not sure you can stay in the forest for one day and you won't be comfortable. Same thing with Ayuba. You can't. So it takes somebody who is and we've had quite this claim is evidence based, from the operations of our forces in those areas, when after they would have cleared the locations of the terrorists, they discover remnants of drugs littered all over the place. And when some of them are arrested, put in custody, after 2-3 days, they start showing withdrawal syndrome, because when they don't have this thing, because they depend on this thing, they are dependent. So when they don't have it, after some 1-2 days, they become agitated. And in some interactions with them, the thing they really need most, not even the arms, not the ammunition, not food, but drug. Because it is drugs that give them this false feeling that they can do the impossible. And that's why they go on for this fighting. Then, again, in our interaction with some of the victims, or those that have been in their camps, we have also seen that these people cannot stay without popping pills or snorting something, smoking cannabis almost every hour. That is their life. So it means that they cannot act with their normal senses. They need to be propelled, fueled by drugs. And that's the strong nexus between drug abuse and the insecurity, the security challenges we have across the country.
All right. Now, in the process, as part of the role of the NDLA for the rehabilitation of people who were once drug addicts and all of that, we are aware of the now repentant bandits. I mean, Boko Haram fighters, not bandits per se. Some of them that have surrendered are back, and we are aware of this government's program of reintegrating them back to the society, rehabilitating them, and all of that. Is the NDLA playing any role in that?
Well, you see, the NDLA's our responsibility, I would say there are on two major planks. One, the drug supply reduction. Drug supply reduction, that is the one that is so visible and people see or hear of every day. That is the arrest, the seizures, the raids, the prosecution, and what have you. That is the main plank of the agency's work. But the second plank, that is why we are the lead agency in that, drug supply reduction. Now, on the drug demand reduction, we work along with other stakeholders. NDLA is not the only one involved there. You have quite a number of other stakeholders, other ministries, departments, and agencies of government that are also involved, even including private organizations who are also stakeholders. So we work with others. So in this particular case, what we do is we are the first point of contact with a drug addict. You see, when they come, when we assess them, at that point we determine the kind of help they need. Because these people, like we say, the problem is it's an ailment, just like any other ailment, just like your malaria fever, like your hypertension, like your diabetes that you have to live and manage. So this thing is also an ailment that needs to be treated. So when we see them, we assess them, at that point we determine, okay, this person may have to be referred to a medical facility for proper treatment. And if it's the one still at the early stages where we can still either treat, counsel, and treat as outpatient or inpatient, depending on which of our facilities, then we attend to them. But then let me also warn that nothing can be better than prevention.
Right.
It's better you don't go into it, because researches have shown that 80% of people that are treated relapse. What it then means is that for those who are in there, we all have to come together, a whole society approach. We all have to come together to make sure that we do everything possible to get them out. And for those that are out, we have to do everything possible. We have to work with them and other stakeholders to make sure that they don't relapse. And for those that have not even started taking drugs, they are the luckiest. And that is why we're shouting, we're warning, don't go there. If you go there, it's a journey that you may never recover from. I tell you, in this Abuja today, to treat addiction, it's not what an ordinary man like you and I can afford. Because per month, in some facilities in Abuja, it costs, the minimum you probably pay monthly is ₦1 million. Yeah.
Okay.
So to treat addiction, ₦1 million a month. So how many people can afford that? So that is why we're warning, if you are not yet there, whatever the temptations may be, don't go there. Because when you get hooked there, What it will cost your family, your friends, your relations to get you out, it's not a walk in the park.
Okay, so maybe you should also tell us some of the international collaborations that the NDLA has gotten into, to be able to fight this drug merchants from the international angle.
Awesome. I'll tell you, between January and now, honestly, you can see the visuals, the reports are there. As soon as General Mara came in January, you see quite a number of international partners just started trooping back to the agency for partnership, for this, for that. And I'm telling you honestly, it's been a major source of inspiration to the officers and men and the agency itself. You see, when you are working with partners out there who are ready to do anything and everything to support you. Let's take for instance the 2 million euro project being handled by the Germans for the NDLA in Lagos. That's the dog school. You see, where we have the canine unit, where we have the dogs developed and trained. What they are trying to create here is, beyond having dogs that will work for the agency, it's also a training ground for dogs from across West Africa and Africa, and even for other agencies that may want to get that, because when we talk of a 2 million euro facility, that is huge. So that is a huge support for the agency, and these people are giving us more dogs, sniffer dogs to work with. Beyond that, we having support from the US government, from the British, that's the UK government, from the French government, from like I mentioned, Germans, from Italy, quite across the world. Honestly, I'll tell you. Right. And even we are also building partnerships also across Africa. I remember recently we were in Gambia to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Drug Law Enforcement Agency of the Gambia, DLAC. Mm-hmm. So we're building networks. We're not just also working with our partners in Europe and America. We're also building partnership in Africa, because what we also discovered recently is that because the heat is much in Nigeria at our seaports and airports, these people are now diverting to other African countries, at least 2 major ones. I wouldn't want to mention their names so that it doesn't appear, but then I'm sure they are already aware of the trend. You see, the issue is when they can't get into Nigeria easily, then they'll have to look for other places to use as a transit.
All right now. Well, we'll be taking a break now, and then when we come back, another guest joins us virtually to talk about the proliferation of firearms, and he is Dr. Murtala Ahmed Rufai, Department of History, Osman Danfodio University, Sokoto. He is the author of the book I Am a Bandit. I'm sure some of you must have heard about that book. You want to find out what's the idea behind that caption. So join us again after the break.
Suleiman, Aya, and Tari, all from the Sulubawa clan, with a unique wealth of culture and deep love for cattle, which truly reflects their sense of family. But over time, everything changes with no lands for grazing. Experience the incredible story of the Fulani people, loved ones they must protect, the journey they must take.
All right, thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak on Trust Television. And of course, we are talking about insecurity, general situation of insecurity in the country. We've been looking at the angle of drugs. And of course, now we'll be looking at the issue of arms proliferation. And we are joined by Dr. Murtala Ahmed Rufai, Department of History, Usman Danfodio University. He joins us via phone to talk about recent discoveries. Good morning, and it's good to have you join us.
Good morning.
Yes. So you recently wrote a book, and that book caused a lot of stir for some people that would just hear the name, I'm a Bandit. Can you just briefly tell us what's the rationale behind the tagging of the name I'm a Bandit?
Thank you. Good morning. The title of the seminar, because it is a university seminar, not a book, is actually meant to provide an in-depth analysis of the origin, development, and the transformation of rural banditry over a long period of time, looking at the ancient form of banditry and also trying to connect between the old or the past form of banditry and the modern form of rural banditry that started actually in Zamfara. So the title is not just meant to provide this analysis alone, but also to attract the attention of wider audience about the internal dynamics and operations of rural bandits. And then that title actually is captivating, as you rightly pointed out, but it is actually meant to attract the audience it actually attracted.
Okay.
Because it is widely circulated. It is still in circulation. The same seminar, for instance, is shared to over 2 million people, not only in Nigeria alone, in Africa, but in the globe, Europe and America.
Now,
so it's actually a very serious presentation, and it generated a lot of arguments and a lot of debate across the world.
okay. Now, in your research, you mentioned various leaders of bandits' camps with inventory of their weapons and locations. Can you wrap our head around all of that?
Well, the issue of the bandit camps, there are different types and different forms of these camps, just like the way there are different types of bandits. We've seen transformation of rural communities, in some cases pastoral communities, where everyone bearing arms, from the normal hardened stick that we know, now to the use of AK-47, AK-49, and other deadly weapons. The camps are also of different types, of different forms. There are station camps that are operating in a fixed particular location. And there are also mobile bandits with their mobile camps. Each and every one of these camps, for instance, has its own area of operations, strategy of operations, and the models of operating. So in terms of weapons possession, for instance, There are camps where you find each and every member has one AK-47 or AK-49. There are camps you see each and every member has two AK-47 or AK-49. There are camps where you see every member with three AK-47 or AK-49, depending on what is actually available to the camp at that point in time. Those that have one move with their AK-47 mostly are mobile bandits moving from one location to another. But in most cases where you have the station bandits, they either have two or three AK-47. The one they move out with in the case of operations, the one that is kept at home, and the other one is actually in the forest or in the bush in a highly hidden place where it is very difficult to trace it. So in terms of the proliferation of small arms and the light weapons, the bandits have gone ahead of the Nigerian state.
So
because they have acquired more than they can even use.
Okay, so
the camps, the membership of the camps, for instance, are just too numerous to start counting them. From Zamfara to Dan Sadau to Birnin Gwari to Birnin Magaji to Magamin Metarku and other areas, you find different bandit gangs operating either individually or collectively with the aim of causing mayhem to the community.
All right, so can you just briefly talk to us in your research? Were you able to make some kind of discoveries on the use of drugs, for instance, by these bandits, in the forest?
You see, the entire bandit business is a business that solely and wholly rely on drugs. And there are different types and different forms of drug barons. Different ethnic groups. The Igbo people, for instance, are into the supplying of soft and hard drugs to the bandits. And the act of banditry will be absolutely useless, fruitless, and not important if you remove the soft and the hard drugs. Because I'm telling you, none of these bandits, none, to the best of my knowledge, none is not a drug addict. Before going on operation, during operation, after operation, they make use of hard drugs. And larger part of what they get, or what they were able to obtain from their operation, either kidnapping, cattle rustling, and other atrocities committed by these people, the larger part of the resources goes to either weapons, acquiring sophisticated weapons, or getting hard drugs. The fact remains that if we succeeded in cutting the supply of drugs, the supply of weapons, then the bandits will be rendered useless.
All right. Well, thank you for your insights on the program today. We appreciate your joining us this morning for this discussion. We have been speaking with Dr. Murtala Ahmed Rufai, Department of History, Usman Danfodio University, a lead researcher on the issue of banditry in the Northwest. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. We still have in the studio the spokesman of the NDLEA talking about Femi Baba Femi. Now, you heard him, while he was, he is so confident that virtually all the bandits are addicts of drugs and all of that.
Absolutely.
What are the discoveries that you've been made, or some of the observations you made in recent arrest of some of the suspected bandits, as far as, this use of drug among them?
Absolutely. Thank God this is not just coming from the NDLA law. This is also coming from somebody, an academic that has done researches in that field. But then, like I was saying before, I said that this is evidence-based. It's an evidence-based fact, and it's something we're very certain and very sure of, given the fact that when our armed forces, who are in the forefront of the battle against these people, when they clear, anytime they clear an area of operation where these people are, at the end of the day, they find remnants of drugs littered all over the place, meaning that they have been living on those drugs. 2, also, anytime some of these people are arrested and taken into custody, that is the bandits, after some 2-3 days, when they cannot pop the pills or smoke, then they start showing withdrawal syndrome, that is getting agitated and shaking, vibrating, because they think that they were already on some substances that had already altered the way they live, the way they behave. So when they mix this for 2-3 days, they start showing some signs that they need this thing to get back to their normal.
Okay.
Remember, their normal is in quotes. Yeah.
Now, many people are frightened of the idea of repatriating these people back into society. From your interactions with them, have you noticed any form of remorse, from these people?
Well, let me tell you, when we talk of drug addiction, we don't want to criminalize everybody, because it's not every addict that is a criminal. We have to get that fact very right. And that is why when we assess an individual, we know whether that person is it's a criminal mind that needs to face trial, or somebody that genuinely needs help, that needs to be treated. And for those that need treatment, that need to be treated, not the criminals, we take them through a lot of therapies, a lot of things to get. You see, let me give you an instance. Recently, a young man contacted me through the social media, my inbox, and when he told me his story, I felt very bad. You see, this is a young man who started well in life, got into the uni. Now, but because of drugs, he told me that everything he had attained in life had all crashed. His life is in ruins. I'm using his exact words, because when somebody is using those words to describe himself, I felt. And when I checked his profile, I saw somebody really in bad shape. Has become a shadow of himself, of his old self. And he said he cannot but take tramadol 2-3 times a day, that he really desire to get out of it, but he finds it difficult, so he needs help. Is there anything I could do for him? I got touched, and I had to link him up with our facility close to where his location, to where he is, and I do hope today he will be better for it. So there are quite a number of them that are genuinely remorseful. Those are the people that the category of those that I said really need help, and that's why we're saying, see, this thing, we need a whole society approach to tackle it. We need everybody on board. It's not just about the NDLA or the government, it's about all of us. It's our collective, because this problem actually starts from the smallest unit of the society, which is the family.
Right.
Now, talking about the factors responsible for this thing, for me, family is the number one, because that's where the problem starts from. You see, they're quite at the family unit. You see, some families, you have they are broken, where the parents are no longer together, and the children are usually the victims.
Right.
Their children are usually the victims in this case. You want to go?
All right. Well, quite a lot there. We've been looking at as far as the fight against drug abuse. And well, at this point, we have to draw the curtain. We've come to the end of this discussion. On the program today, we've been speaking with the spokesman of the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Femi Babafemi. The NDLEA in recent times have made quite a lot of seizures, and we give them kudos for that.
Thank you, Ayuba.
I hope to have you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Sure.
We'll go on a quick break now, and then when we come back, the show continues. Please stay with us.
The use of herbs and plants as medicine, popularly known as agbo, is a tradition that has always been a part of the Nigerian people.
Agbo cures different type of diseases.
For some traditional medicine practitioners and consumers, traditional medicine, or agbo as they are popularly called, still remain a trusted and preferable alternative.
I inherited this from my late grandmother.
More people need to believe in the potential of the phytomedicinal sector.
From the onset, our origination is from the herbal medicine.
There are other ailments that does not need surgery. I believe natural herbs can do the job very well.
My grandfather stayed 135 years before he died. So we are family of roots.
We're sitting on a multi-billion-dollar gold mine here in Nigeria when we talk about herbal medicines.
However, this does not eradicate the importance and usefulness of modern medicine in the world today.
This is the spot, a marking signifying the starting point of the dam.
40. No compensation has been given to any community member, and no place has been earmarked for their relocation.
Since why they go, they never come back.
And this is where the hydroelectric power dam is supposed to be constructed. But for many years, the story has remained the same. This is the site of the proposed hydroelectric power station in Mambila. But the irony is, no construction has even commenced yet.
All right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching Daybreak on Trust Television. It's that time where we'll take a look at a video, what's trending, usually what's viral on social media. And we stumbled on this video that went viral on social media where there was this very, very unfortunate scene of a family that, are experiencing flood where they live, and you could see water all over the place. And that's the best place that they had, to lay their heads. And it was quite a very, very sad scene. Take a look at the video.
How is everything, sir? How long have you been staying there? How long? How many years? 4-5 years. Wow, this is so sad. Calm down. Let me see. No, fine girl. Wow. Wow. So sorry. Oh, need it. Oh, yeah. Only, okay. Okay. Wow. Ekwele. So sorry. Ekwele. Okay. 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 Yeah, Ekwele. Egbasa. Mama fún yín ní owó ńsìn lẹ́mu. This is another one. Mama try láti gbé yín kúrò níbí báyìí. Yeah, sorry, eh? Sorry. Ekwele. Let me move it. Just hold it. Yeah, sorry. Come closer. Yeah. Sorry, Ekwele. Thank you. How about you? What's your name? What's your name? Tomiwa, how about you? This is the best. How about you? Come. What's your name? Yinka. So why we say every day? No. This is we'll be like. Let them see all this. Yeah. Sit down. Yeah. Sorry, Tomiwa. Sorry, it's okay.
All right, that was it. There you have it. Very, very unfortunate there, and they don't have a choice.
It's quite disheartening.
That's all they've got.
You can see the fact that, okay, this has happened, and they don't have anywhere else to go, and they have to wait for the water to drain out before they continue
and you know, you cannot imagine how many times this
has
happens. You know, within a year or within the rainy season, that they have to now wait. And okay, think about mosquitoes, you know, living with them in that space.
As we have been seeing in recent times, you know.
And these are children and all of that. It's very, very touching video. We hope that maybe somehow someone will come to their rescue. And most importantly, if they could have a better place to stay, I think that could, you know, that could be of great help to them, especially those children that have to live in that kind of condition. Well, with that, we wrap up Trust TV's Daybreak show here on Trust Television. We do this every weekday in the morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. In case you are just joining and you feel like you've missed, well, you can catch up on our YouTube channel and also follow us across all social media handles for latest news updates.
I'm Zainab Bella.
Yeah, and I am Ayubelia. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.
Suleiman